Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another Whiskey Wednesday. And today we do have a very special show planned where we will be doing an interview with Bill McBrayer, president and founder of McBrayer Legacy Spirits. And we are going to go through a line of samples that he provided us. So we'll be able to do a whole taste through live, in addition to getting to know the brand and some of the very, very rich history. I know I've been doing quite a bit of research going into today, and there are so many fascinating stories that we're excited to get into with Bill. And for many of you that are coming from the Bardstown Blitz back in October, I know that McBrayer left one heck of an impression on so many of the partygoers that day. So this will be another chance to keep the story going with this brand as we go into 2026 and get to explore more of their expressions. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. Well, before we get started, just a few housekeeping things to make everybody aware of, but keep an eye out. We will be getting a link soon for our K. Luke single barrel that should be coming out in the next week or two. Our Still Austin pick is also on its way. So we'll be giving more news on the Patreon and Facebook group as we get closer and closer. And if you weren't aware, over at Dusty Dan's on Monday nights, we teamed up with Big Vic, Dusty Dan, Drifting Drams, and Baker Drinks to pick a single barrel of Bull Run. And we found a very, very delicious Pinot finished light whiskey. So lots of exciting things coming. And hey, we're talking to McBrayer as well. So let's get first Kelsey on the channel. Kelsey, how excited are you to go through tonight's flight?
Hey everybody, welcome back. Man, I am very excited. This is the one brand out of all that I tasted, and there were a lot at the Blitz that stuck out heads and shoulders above. Like, I think part of it was I didn't know this brand before, but I think more than that, it was just everything that I tasted from them was very impressive. I'm sure we'll get into more of this, but the lower proof point into the barrel really made a viscous mouth coating pour that I really, really enjoyed, and the story behind it. And we'll get into that later, but it just, everything combining kind of all came into one big conglomeration for me for that event, and really reached out pretty much as soon as we got back and just tried to line this out and figure out a timeline for Bill to come on and talk more about the brand, but also we want more people tasting this stuff, this brand and what he's done with the history of it, but also the whiskey as well has been very impressive. So I'm super excited. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
No, you're good. I mean, for myself too, and I think part of it is the area, because Bill and I are in the same area here. There is a shop in Northern Kentucky called Revival Spirits. And that was my first introduction to this brand a few years ago. Brad over there was let me taste it at the tasting bar and all that kind of stuff. And then there was also some local events and charities that they did tastings of around here. And then with the Blitz to cap things off, I think that was really the moment. I mean, I think I spent more time at that table than any other table at the Blitz. I don't think I stopped. I just went all the way from end to end on that table. Whereas everybody else, I dabbled here and there. Nope, that one, it was a whole end-to-end experience, which we get to relive a little bit tonight.
Yep.
All right.
It's going to be fun.
Darrell, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing well, and I'm excited about this. Like we were speaking briefly, I've only had a couple of these, so I haven't even been able to venture into the other three, if that's what I'm missing. But, dude, yeah, that was... So at the Blitz, that was a fun table to visit too, because I wasn't too familiar with the brand. Bill did say we met, but I couldn't remember that. So it was kind of like meeting again for the first time and kind of tasting through this stuff again. I'm not sure if I even tasted it the first time that we met. But interesting stuff, really good stuff. But yeah, excited to kind of jump through this, man, because I'm not too familiar with this whole line. So I'm excited and ready to dive in.
Awesome.
All right. Man, shout out to Ed. Evening, y'all. Cheers. Hey, evening. Good evening
Thanks,
to you,
Ed.
Ed. Oh. Well, everybody, we are going to keep things tight tonight. Focus on our guests. If you have any questions, we'll try to keep an eye on chat. Try to tag us if you can too, if you're trying to get our attention for a question, but we are going to dive right into it. And now it is time to introduce our guest of honor for tonight. Everybody give a big welcome to Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hey guys.
All right.
Hey,
Hey,
good
Bill.
to see everybody. Yeah, hey, good to
Have
see
you
you
on
all.
there,
Thanks
man.
for thanks for having me on tonight. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Bardstown Blitz, that was just a phenomenal event. It was so nice to meet so many new people and get that exposure. You know, Jason and Scott, you know, they actually are good friends. And I was telling Jeff earlier, when we did batch one back in 2021 of the Judge, Jason, he had a bottle of it. And he learned our history. He did a nice video about who we were and our history, and he actually didn't know it, but he released it on my birthday, my 50th birthday. And it was like the best birthday present I could have. My wife was doing all these special things for me. It didn't matter what she did because Jason like topped the whole thing for me, and it's like one of those things. And when they said, "Hey, can you come to the Bardstown Blitz?" I'm like, "Absolutely, whatever you need from me." I feel like I owe him for the rest of my life, you know.
That's awesome. That is great.
Yeah. So, we're going to go through five different samples tonight. So I assume you're going to want to jump right into one of them right away. So, I would probably encourage you to start with the Cedar Brook 100 proof. That's our wheated bourbon. That's our Cedar Brook label, which we'll talk a little bit about. Cedar Brook was actually one of the most famous brands in the world in late 1800s, early 1900s. It was known all over the world as one of the best brands coming out of Kentucky.
And
right.
Bill, this is 109 or 100 proof. Excuse me, my eyes are bad. 100 proof.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a standard 100 proof. I kind of like this as an entry level for our product line. It's a wheated bourbon. It's a 70-21-9 mash bill. It's just a nice, pleasant bourbon to start with. If I'm going to have a session of drinking bourbon, I can crush. That's a crushable bourbon. It just goes down so easy and so smooth.
Absolutely.
Well, as we're getting into this, one thing I like to do too, Bill, is lead into first getting to know you even before we get the brand. I mean, what brought you to this moment? I know that's also linked to the brand story, but you as a bourbon drinker in general, like this journey on your own bourbon journey, how did you get here?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll keep it as close as I can here, as tight as I can, so we can try to get through the whole history because there's a lot to tell. But, it was almost 13 years ago now. My daughter was looking to go to colleges, and somebody asked me to check out Center College in Danville, Kentucky. It was a small college. She wanted to play potentially small volleyball. And I looked at it. I was telling my dad about it. And he's like, well, the McBrayers gave some money to that school. And I'm like, dude, who are you talking about? He said it was the McBrayer in the whiskey business. Well, I remember when I was a kid growing up, Dad was a sales guy back in the 70s, early 80s. And there was a brand still called Old McBrayer whiskey. And he would give it to his customers at Christmas time. And he'd say, hey, don't forget about me next time you need to order something, blah, blah, right? And then next time he saw him, he'd say, hey, Bill, we really appreciate that gift, but man, don't give us that anymore. It was the worst whiskey we've ever had. It was bottom shelf, nasty whiskey, right? And it was that blended, it was that neutral grain spirits, like 70% back in the 70s, early 80s. So I just thought Old McBrayer was rotten gut whiskey, but the McBrayers gave some money to this college. My daughter, we were gonna figure that out, and there's a scholarship or something. She's definitely gonna apply, whether she wanted to go there or not. I didn't really care, right? So I'm doing all this research, and I'm looking on the internet, for scholarships at Center College, and there wasn't one. And so I happened to be home all weekend by myself because they were at a volleyball tournament or something. And I Googled McBrayer whiskey, and there was a blog post written by Jack Sullivan on prepro.com. It was W.H. McBrayer, the judge of good whiskey. And I read this blog post about how he was the first judge in Anderson County. Thus, he was known as the judge and state senator, and started his distillery in the 1840s and won the gold medal for the best whiskey in the world in 1876. And I'm just like, wait a minute, this is not the rock gut whiskey that I remember. And then that led into not working for 6 weeks and like going down this rabbit hole of the McBrayer family and the McBrayer history. And the more I got into it, the more it was just amazing, right? And we're pretty fortunate as a family. You know, the McBrayers, we've been studying our genealogy for almost 100 years in this country. And we had this family genealogy book of the McBrayers. You can see how thick it is. And that's just the McBrayers that were in this country, and all this documentation from the 1980s is when this thing was put together. And
it's that thick, holy crap.
Yeah, and I mean, it just started going down, and then there's all this stuff on the internet, and there's all these old artifacts, and just traced the brands and found out, you know, our brands were part of bourbon for over 140 years and made it through Prohibition, and the National Distillers owned it. And then when they sold to Jim Beam in the 1980s, Jim Beam let our trademarks expire. I was like, I just want to own the family labels. That'd be pretty cool. So I started re-registering trademarks, which really isn't very easy. And if we get to that point, I'll tell you some of those stories. But, you know, I ended up getting a couple trademarks. I got the old McBrayer trademark and the W.H. McBrayer trademark. I later was able to get the W.H. McBrayer Cedar Brook bourbon trademark, excluding wine, because there's a wine called Cedar Brook and all this legal jumbo stuff. And had the family brands, right? So I had this trademark attorney I worked with, and then she sends me a bill 6 months later after I had the trademarks, and said, I call her, I say, hey, what's this bill for? It's like several $100s. And she said, well, did you use your trademarks? I go, what do you mean? She said, well, did you use them? Well, no, I just want to own the trademarks, right? And she said, well, you can't own trademarks without putting them into use. So you have to use them. I'm like, well, can I put Old McBrayer bourbon or something on a t-shirt? She said, well, no, you said they were going to be bourbon. So you have to make bourbon. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was sitting in my chair that night, you know, waiting for my wife to get home, and I was having a drink, and she walks in the door. I go, hey, honey, I'm going to get in the bourbon business. And she goes, really? I go, I don't know anything about it, so I'm just going to drink a whole bunch of it. I'm going to figure it out. And that's how I got in the bourbon business. So
that's pretty random.
Yeah. So you know, it's kind of a long story. I called my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, you know, you hurry up and retire. We need to figure out how to put some whiskey in a bottle so I can make it and sell it and have these trademarks, you know. And then we started going to some still shows and figured out that that's not that easy. And I had a warehouse. I was just going to put it in there, you know. And then nobody at that time, you know, this is like 2013 or 14. There's not contract distillers in Kentucky at that point. Right? We're just kind of getting things moving. And I mean, there was MGP, and it was kind of funny. I met those guys at a show, right? And you can tell how different the world is today. I said, hey, can we get some of your barrels so I can put it in the bottle? And they go, hey, we don't even want to talk to you unless you come to the table with $1 million. I'm like, really? Now they're begging people to buy barrels, right?
Right, exactly. My tides have changed.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And so you know, it took a little while, and I ended up getting connected with Pat and Shane at Wilderness Trail, and they, you know, we can kind of I'm getting a little bit ahead of the story, but they helped us get some of our first barrels going, and I'll tell you about that maybe when we get to that product. So that's how I got started in the business, right? And it's, you know, this is my passion project. The whole purpose of starting this business back then was to reintroduce William Harrison McBrayer to the bourbon community and tell them who he was. And really the intent was to try to get him in the Bourbon Hall of Fame. Like, hey, is there a Bourbon Hall of Fame? This guy should be in the Bourbon Hall of Fame. And there is one, although you can't go see it and you can't go visit it, but there is a Bourbon Hall of Fame. And so got a chance to just kept doing all this research and just kept finding more and more things. And all these things just kept happening along the way. It was like this thing that was meant to happen for me. And here I am 12 years later, thousands of barrels now into my hobby, and a whole bunch of property that used to be the Cedar Brook distillery. And we've been sold out for every year, except, we're starting to make more now. So now we're starting to distribute in Kentucky and meet more people and trying to get our product out there. So it's exciting.
Yeah. And it all started just wanted to reclaim your heritage and own that name. I love
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, I'll own the family brands. Well, how cool is that, right? You got, and then, but it's right. And so I think, Jeff, maybe you said you had some teenage kids, or you got younger kids, and I don't know about you guys, but back then I had 2 teenage kids, right? So after dinner, I'd grab a drink. My wife like, "You're having some drinks tonight?" I go, "No, honey, I am working. This is product research. I am working." and when you have teenage kids, there's a lot of reasons to do product research.
That's why you see all this back there.
That's right, man. That's right.
Darrell's got you beat. He has 6 of them.
Oh my goodness. Well, you'll need all of that to get through those. Oh my goodness.
There's a lot more.
You'll be going through teenage years for like 20 years or something,
Yeah, every time I get out of teenage years, another one enters in.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of that Cedar Brook? We'll start with that maybe.
No, I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Like
you said, it's very crushable, very easy to drink, very approachable. It's for people who may not be bourbon drinkers per se. But the one thing that I keep getting a lot on this, I don't remember it at the Blitz, but there's almost a Smarties. If you remember Smarties, candies, there's almost that type of a powdery sugar fruit note that's on this one on the palate that comes across. That's really, really nice. And a lot of time on weeded bourbons, I don't think I've ever gotten that on a weeded bourbon. The only one that I've gotten that note that isn't a weeded bourbon, which is an all rice whiskey, was on an all rice whiskey. So it was just odd. That's the first weeded bourbon I think I've ever gotten that note before. But really, really viscous, very mouth coating, even at 100 proof. The finish last a long time. So
what we find interesting about that product is, you get that nice weeded on the front end, but it almost finishes like a bourbon on the back end, which is interesting. And it's got that nice long finish to it, but it's not hot. And so you start with maybe some fruit notes and maybe a citrus note or something, but you get that brown butter or burnt butters on the back side of it. And we really find that very enjoyable. And we've got that available for $55 is what that retails at. So to get started, in our lineup, we kind of feel like that's one of our entry-level products, but we'll put that against Weller any day you want to.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be a fun comparison. I get kind of like a watermelon note. I can kind of see where Kelsey's coming from with that more confectionery sweetness. But yeah, something along those lines with that fruitiness there is a bit unique for the weeded profile for me. I guess there's some MGPs where I've gotten that kind of weeded, that watermelon note, but I enjoy this quite a bit. And I can see this. I mean, this is you could really pound this one if you weren't careful, because it's so smooth. There's no bite there, but it's so flavorful, and the mouthfeel is so pleasing at the same time. Yeah, this is a dangerous one.
Yeah, it's really viscous, man. It sticks to the glass for 100 proof. And I'm not a weeded bourbon guy. There's very few weeded bourbons that I enjoy. This is super solid. It kind of honestly reminds me of like the older school Rebel 10s, right? Like that Heaven Hill profile, like, because on some newer old fits, I get like that watermelon strawberry vibe. But I don't even know how old this is, Bill, but I imagine it's maybe young, but it tastes like it's like 10 years old to me. Like,
it's a 4 to 5 year old product, but we were able to put this blend together, and we were pretty excited about how it all came together. And what I really love about it is, this is the label. We were able to reuse a lot of the old designs off the old bottles. So this scroll on top here, that came from the old bottles. He always had this monogram here in the middle, and then this this font of Cedar Brook. He had a couple of them, but this was all on his single barrels. This font, it had some funkiness to the C's and the E's, and it was kind of a fun thing to bring back for us. So I was real excited about it.
That's definitely a good one.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, so it looks like there's several people from the Bardstown Blitz that are here in the comments section. I see Toby and Marty and several others. Richie Z, I think I've seen on several different things at the time, and I've kind of missed some of the things here, but what a great group that was that day. It was a great time.
Yeah, it was an awesome event. So what is this next one?
So the next one's going to be our old McBrayer bottled and bond. That one's kind of fun. I'll talk about that bottle, and I'll maybe get into that history a little bit. So this is the bottle here, right? So yeah, you've got a mini version of that. This is with our 8-year-old statement on it. What's fun about this, there was a guy that looked up our website, and he was a drywaller out working out in Utah on this old bank. And he found this old bottle of old McBrayer in the wall and sent me pictures of it. It was that exact label. And that label we think came from around 1910. And, and we believe that was when actually, I'll get into E.H. Taylor and our influence with him, but he actually bought the old McBrayer brand from a distributor that used to be with McBrayer, with W.H., W.W. Johnson. And, he that was his label. So that we think that was also made at what's now Castle and Key, that particular label. So that was kind of fun.
Okay.
Right. And so, so we were able to get that to an 8-year-old product. And that one came together, that's a $65 bottle still at 8 years old. And we were really happy. We've been real happy with that one too. So, so maybe you guys start drinking that one. We can get back to it. So the McBrayers, they came from Scotland, right? They came over from Scotland in the 1730s through Northern Ireland. There was 3 brothers, as I can tell from my history book here that I had. And they said that those 3 brothers were combined 21 feet tall and 900 pounds. And, just about every McBrayer that I know, other than maybe 1 or 2 of them, we're all like 5'8", 5'9". So they must have married some really short women or something. I don't know. The gene pool got a little bit diluted on the height, but came over, the Cumberland Valley there in Pennsylvania is where they settled. There was 3 brothers. There was William, there was James, and there was David. I'm from the brother William. I'm a 9th generation McBrayer. Brother James, his oldest son, he was a William. There's a lot of Williams in the McBrayer line. We weren't very smart. We just know how to use the same name. Right. But the oldest brother, William, he was a surveyor, and he came over in the James Herod settlement and surveyed the Wilderness Trail. Some would say before Daniel Boone went back and got his family and his 4 brothers. They came to the Harrodsburg area, and Lawrenceburg were granted a couple thousand acres for their service in the Revolutionary War. And then W.H. McBrayer, he was a 3rd generation, became the first judge in Anderson County. I might have mentioned, he was a merchant. He had a merchant store they took over from his sister when her husband passed away. He was he raised cattle. He was a big philanthropist, big Presbyterian there in the Presbyterian Church, built it there in Lawrenceburg. And then he started his distillery. The W.H. McBrayer distillery is how it started in 1847. And it says they established their distillery because they were making whiskey way before that. And at the urging of his wife in the 1850s, they wanted to distance the name McBrayer a little bit, so they renamed it the Cedar Brook Distillery. And he influenced, and when you get around the Civil War era, Anderson County was probably making the best whiskey in Kentucky, right? And so in 1860, he helped his master distiller at that time buy his first distillery. His name was T.B. Rippey. T.B. Rippey is now what's now Wild Turkey, right? It wasn't much long after that he had another master distiller that actually worked for him for another 25 years. His name was W.B. Saffel, which is a brand now that's also owned by Campari.
Yeah.
Bond and Lillard. Yeah, Bond and Lillard, those guys, they actually used to make yeast for him before they had their own brand. And then his sister, who was 10 years older than him, when her husband passed away, he and his brothers, who he later bought out, took over the merchant store of her husband's. He was a pretty successful guy. And then she remarried later, had a child, and then her husband had passed, and then she passed when the child was 6 years old. WH adopted this young man. His name was C.M. Dedman. When he was 6, raised him as a son, gave him the money and land for a wedding present for his distillery, and his brand was Kentucky Out. Yeah. And so C.M. Dedman, right? And so those are just some of the and all these things, right? And so when you start really going down this rabbit hole, you just can't keep going and going and going, right? And then then he won the gold medal in Vienna, Austria in 1873 for the best whiskey in the world. And they say they turned the crown heads in Europe from Scotch to Kentucky whiskey, right? And then it later became, it says right on the old bottles, and it's on one of those PowerPoint pictures I sent you, Jeff, but it said the best known brand in the world is what said right on the bottle. It's like, I wanted to put it on the bottle. I thought that might be a little cocky at, brand new 5-year-old whiskey, putting the best known brand in the world on it, but we'll save that for another day. And and then won the gold medal at the Centennial Expedition in Philadelphia that celebrated 100 years of our freedom. It just keeps going and going and going, right? And then we had some family lawsuits about the brands, and then but it survived all those things, and it was pretty amazing. So Old McBrayer is what you're drinking now, right? So Old McBrayer was actually started by his cousin, John H. McBrayer. He bought a distillery over in New Market, Kentucky. It was DSP 17. It was Walker Hayes, I think is what it was called. And that was started in 1870 is when he established that brand. He had started a couple other distilleries before that, the J.H. McBrayer distillery. I think he married one of the Walkers in town and had one of those brands as well. And then he later sold the Old McBrayer distillery to WH. And so WH later owned that one. And I think he had like 3 distilleries there at one time, right? And had 3 distilleries. And then he later sold it to his distributor, W.W. Johnson, who then sold to somebody else. And, then later, like I said, it was owned by E.H. Taylor. But, and we'll talk about more of the influence of why he might have wanted to buy that distillery when we talk about the WH product, because that was that was the business plan on actually how we ended up getting started in this. But Old McBrayer, it's got those nice vanilla notes on it. It's got some nice maybe baking spices to it. Maybe when you're drinking, the taste, you get that cinnamon note or a hot note, maybe a little bit to it.
It's got definitely, the spice comes across more in the mid palate than the previous one. But I think the thing that keeps coming across my nose and palate both is this reminds me, and again, this is all subjective to everybody, obviously, but my mom used to make sun tea when I was growing up. And this reminds me of like that really like dark, like tea note, along with like some honey sweetness on the nose and on the palate. It comes across way different than the wheated. But the one thing that is consistent from both of these has been the mouthfeel and the viscousness of both of them. That
leads me to a question. Is this a low entry proof when it goes into the barrel on these?
I mean, that particular one actually was 120 entry proof. So it was a little bit, it wasn't at 125, a little bit lower. And, which is completely different than the WH product, which we're going to talk about. But we really like making sure we're not watering it down too much, and we want to make sure you get those flavors and those mouthfeels, and we really work hard to make sure we do that.
Yeah, so it comes across like it's sticky, and this is 100 proof as well, and like it just coats the glass, and the legs are nuts. Like I just swirled it briefly, and you can see it just.
Is this the 6-year or the 8-year, Bill?
That's the 8-year. That should be the 8-year.
Okay.
And I think you really get a nice finish with that product.
Yeah, I was going to say
it just
coming through a lot more on this one, on the finish.
Yeah. And when I've drank that quite a bit, once, and I love it when I get it, I'll get that. Some people would call it a char note. I call it almost a chocolate note. It'll just kind of pop one time for you. I'm like, it just kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes. Hopefully you guys get that. But
I get that on the finish. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I really enjoy that char or that chocolate or whatever, you all would call it in your profiles. I call it more of a chocolate note. I've had other people call it a char note, but just enough, just a little bit, not overdone. And really get a lot of good reviews for that one.
Yeah, it's very even at that, for people that are just getting into bourbon too, it's very approachable as well. There's not anything that, it's very well rounded. There's nothing that's pointed, that sticks out that above the others. Everything's very well kept in balance too.
Yeah, thank you. Completely different than the Cedar Brook, but and by the way, all the products we have tonight are available on our website. We can ship to 40 states off of the website. Just go right to McBrayerLegacySpirits.com and you can have it shipped to you.
Nice. I think Richie subbed it already too inside the chat for us, which is nice.
All right, Richie said he had a couple of questions. I'm looking for your questions, Richie. So if I missed them, let me know, but I'm not seeing any questions from you. So whenever you get them or put them in chat, and we'll put them up, Richie.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Danny has a couple, hasn't put them out there yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next one you're going to do is our WH product. And this was really, this was this is how I ended up getting in the business. This was like the beginning. And I really wanted to feature the Judge. And that one, it comes in this nice gift box, right? It comes in a gift box. On the inside of the box, it's got a little bit of our story. They're all serial numbered on the side of the box here, as well as the bottle. You got a matching serial number. It really makes a wonderful gift for people if they don't, but it's a fun bourbon to talk about. And so when I was doing my research, we have these family historians, right? And there was one up in Michigan. And so I went to see Bob, and Carl here wrote the book, Carl McBrayer. And Bob, at that point, this was maybe 10 years ago, he was in his 80s, early 80s, right? And I said, hey, Bob, how'd you end up getting in the family ancestry? And he says, well, my dad used to do it. And so you always listen. And my dad told me I should do it. And you always listen to your dad, and, you do what your dad says, right? And I don't know how your kids are. I didn't listen to my dad. But anyway, anyway, he said his dad would travel around the country, and he'd get in the phone books, and he was a traveling sales guy in the 50s, right? And he'd get the phone book out. He'd look up all the McBrayers in the phone book in that city, and he'd call one of them and have a cup of coffee and start writing down all their genealogy, right? And it was like, oh, no kidding. And so it really is amazing that our family has put this together. It's pretty phenomenal. And he said, well, you're going to use the family mash bill. And I'm like, what are you talking about, the family mash bill? He goes, I don't know. We got this mash bill. And I'm like, huh. So I'm on this mission to find the family mash bill, right? And so there's this mission, right? Well, on page 75 on Google, there was an old blog post called Bourbon Enthusiast from 2005. And it had Michael Veach and Chuck Crowdery on this thing when Michael Veach was working at the Filson Society in Louisville, right? And I mean, think about 2005, the internet and how it worked. It was really a message board, right? But they called it a blog site, right? And Michael Veach says, I have this letter from McBrayer to E.H. Taylor from 1870. And on the back of this letter, it has this mash bill he was using at the time. And they go through the math, and it was all this stuff, and it was an 88% corn mash bill, and 6%, 88.6, 5.4, rye, 5.4 barley. And then he and Chuck Crowder and a couple of people were talking about it, said, well, it's probably got this nice grain taste to it. Somebody needs to remake this bourbon and go in the bourbon barrel at 105 proof like they did in the old days. I'm like, there's the business plan. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to figure out how to make that recipe in bourbon. Right. And so Dad, like I said, Dad's helping me do this at the time, right? Dad's still doing stuff with me every day. You guys didn't get a chance to meet Dad. He will be at Bourbon Con for the people here that are coming to Bourbon Con on this weekend. And Dad's gonna be 79 this year, so it's great. And we spent a lot of time together working on bourbon. Only fight once in a while, but a good friend of his was growing Bloody Butcher corn, right? And they said, man, it makes great cornmeal and all this stuff. Nobody had heard of Jeff the Creed at the time, right? Never heard of Jeff the Creed. And so I take this letter and we go down and meet Pat and Shane for the first time. And I'm running out of time now for these trademarks, right? I'm like, I had like 5 years to do it. Every 6 months, this attorney sending me this bill for $600. I'm just paying it. I'm like, so I'm like, hey, Pat and Shane, hey, can you make this just like this? And I showed them the letter and they're like, yeah, we can make that. I go, hey, this Dad's got a buddy that makes Bloody Butcher corn. Can that make good bourbon? They said, yeah, a guy called Wood Hat out in Missouri. He uses Bloody Butcher corn. It tastes good. I'm like, okay, good. If you made it like this, would it taste any good? They go, yeah, it tastes good. I'm like, how do you guys know? Like, how do you know it's going to taste good? And they looked at me like, don't you know who we are? We are Pat and fucking Shane. Like, it was like, we already got you, right? And I'm like, all right, it'll taste good. Good. Can you just make me one barrel? I just need one barrel for my trademarks. I just need a barrel. They're like, oh man, we can't make you one barrel. I go, oh, well, what can you do? They said, well, hey, that 18-inch column still we have. That's the only one they had at the time. They said, it'll make between 10 and 12 barrels on one run. We normally don't do one run, but we'll do one run for you because we know who McBrayer is. And this is a pretty big deal. And so I'm like, all right, cool. How much is that going to cost? I was like, really? It's going to cost that much? And I'm like, well, okay, I got to do this, right? So they make this run, and we got to, well, first off, we ordered some corn from Wood Hat, right? They sent us some corn. It was getting a little older, and then we had enough left over, so they had a farmer that we knew there in Danville who started growing it for us, right? And so the first year we used it, and we tried the distillate. We're like, it tastes pretty good, and so then I called the attorney. I said, hey, we made some bourbon. We're good, right? And she says, well, have you sold any yet? I'm like, what do you mean? I just made it. It's brand new. She says,
I sold it to me.
I said, she says, we have to sell it for your trademark. And I'm like, oh, well, how the hell you do that? Right. So then I'm like, all right, then you need a federal license to get it, and then you need a state license. So I live in Ohio. So I call Ohio. I go, hey, I need to sell some bourbon to my friends and family. They like, you don't understand. We're a controlled state. I'm like, well, what's that mean? They said, we don't do that. I'm like, oh, we'll call Kentucky. I'm like, okay. So I call Kentucky. Yeah, no problem. We'll work with you. We just need your Ohio license. I'm like, well, they won't give me a license so it was like dealing with the mafia in Kentucky. I had to get Pat and Shane to call them to tell them to give me a license. So, and then I bottled the 1-year-old in 1 day bourbon to call it Kentucky bourbon. And Dad and I, we're down there and we're making these 375 bottles, 375 milliliter bottles, putting some white labels on it, and we're putting it in there and we're drinking it. And we're kind of looking at each other like, I don't know, I think it tastes pretty good. And he goes, I know it's not supposed to taste good, right? It's only 1 year old. And he said, I think it tastes good too. So Kevin Curtis was there that day. If you guys know that name, he used to be a master distiller at Woodford. And we met him, and Pat and Shane introduced him to us. We had some lunch with him. He'd come by, and I go, hey man, you want to try this? He says, yeah. And he did this, right? He took the glass, and he put it by his nose. He looked at us, says, what'd you do to this? I said, nothing, man. We're taking out of that barrel and we're putting in this bottle. Well, how are you filtering it? I said, we're just using cheesecloth, right? We're just getting it all the char out of it. He didn't believe us. He went over to the guy that was pulling out of the barrel. And he come back and goes, guys, I'm not bullshitting you. This is some of the best 1 year old bourbon I've ever had. I'm like, really? He goes, I wouldn't tell you that if it wasn't true. So I'm like, all right, man. So the first year I got 10 barrels. The second year we got 12 barrels. I'm like, oh man, this is great. We're going to go big time. Let's make 24 barrels the next year, right? And then we made 32 barrels the next year. And then, so then we got to 4 years old. I sold it, got my trademarks, it was all good. So, you know, and then we got to the 4-year-old product, which was batch 1 in 2021. Mm-hmm. And so we blended 5 barrels together, got like 1,075 bottles, I think it was. Put them on the website through the guy in DC, sold them out in 3 days. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And I was starting to get into it, and bourbon's going crazy. I'm like, all right, this is going to be my retirement gig. So we're going to start laying down 300 barrels a year, right? Oh, wow. And so then I came up with another mash bill to use for old McBrayer, but I had these 70. So what you're drinking now, you're on the WH product now, right?
Right.
Yeah. WH. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I'll pivot for just a second. So that particular product, right? It went in the barrel 105 proof. It's that Bloody Butcher corn, which we don't tell people till after they drink it, by the way, because there's all these people that don't like Bloody Butcher corn in Kentucky, which I will. They think they don't. But I'll let you know whatever you think about that. And so that's barrel strength at 106.8. Barrel strength at 106.8. Okay. And so when you talk about thick and viscosity, we really get that. That's got such a great mouthfeel too.
All three of them had a great mouthfeel.
Yeah. Agreed.
I just started nosing the fourth one. I haven't tasted it yet. The single barrel bourbon.
Yeah, y'all, you're moving ahead already, huh?
I just nosed it. I didn't taste it. I didn't taste it.
Always Darrell skipping ahead.
But yeah, the nose on all these, like the oak profile on all three of them are really, really nice. They all come across older to me. Like I wouldn't have thought that the first one was 4 to 5 years old by any means. The wheated bourbon at 100 proof.
Yeah.
I'm trying to center in on it. There's either a nice honey note or maple syrup note, or I keep going back and forth on which one it is, but I like it quite a bit.
I get more of the honey, Jeff, than maple syrup. It's not, if it is a maple syrup, it's not very sweet maple syrup, but I get where you're going with that.
Yeah, I can see where you get that. You know, do you get any like fruit notes on the front?
That's the other thing I was going to say is this one and the first one, the Cedar Brook, which is interesting because I know the mash bills are completely different. I still get that confectionery, sugarish type of fruit notes on the nose of this one, like I did the first one, which is interesting.
Yeah,
this one's more berry leaning for me. Yeah. If I'm going to describe the fruits.
Yeah. We've been told there's almost like a blueberry, raspberry kind of a note, maybe, right?
Yep.
Now, are you getting any chocolate note on that one as well, or?
You get it on the finish again, that same spot that we were talking about before. It shows up right on the finish, and to me, that is a chocolate. It's even milk chocolate, not even like straight dark chocolate. I mean, it's just a nice chocolate note.
Dude, I love this nose. This thing, when I was in the military in Seattle, and a friend of mine that I actually did training with got stationed there, and she happened to live there. But it reminds me of a time she invited me to her farm, and they do like this little apple cider sauerkraut bash. Like they make homemade like sauerkraut, and they make homemade apple cider. And she had this big machine that you're sitting there rowing to like make the cider. And I don't know what note of that, but it's maybe like the flesh of maybe the skin or just the pure juice of it. But like I get this note that I remember when I was making cider
memories
with her. Yeah, man. It's literally like maybe the flesh of the apple, like on the inside of it, not smelling it from the outside. But they used all red delicious apples. And I get I love this nose on this third one. Oh my God. It smells so good.
We got a personal question.
It's kind of fun, right? Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, when I first started drinking bourbon back, 10 2010 or 11 or whatever it was, right? Probably Makers and Woodford, right? And then I really got, like, I remember the first time, and it was great. It was fine. And I started drinking it, and obviously started really drinking bourbon. And then, at one point I remember, it's kind of funny. I was waiting to meet some vendors, and I was getting ready to have a business meeting, and they were running like 45 minutes late. And they had this Woodford Double Oak sitting there, and it was, way back. It was a long time ago, right when it first came out. And I was so wasted by the time those people showed up. I was slurring my words. That stuff went down so good. I was like, oh my God, this is a double oak bourbon. This is great. And then I started getting into it and started to understand bourbon a little bit. When it talk about, I have all kinds of different ones I'm trying to try, and I want to make sure I understand what's out there. I have become pretty snooty about drinking my own bourbon. But I would tell you, there's brands that I really admire, right? More so than what I like to drink. I really admire Michter's, right? It's an old brand that goes in a barrel, 103 proof. I wish their bourbons had a little bit more higher proof to them. I know why they do what they do. And I really like Old Forester, It is interesting to me, like if you look at a bottle of Old Forester and you look at our old McBrayer bottle, right, with the labels on it, very similar. Right? Very similar. And so the brands were both started in 1870, very similar fonts, but I know this bottle label was made in 1910. So I just wonder who's copying who, So I really like those brands. I like, from a craft side, I really love Peerless. I really love what they've done with their brands and how they go to market. Maybe a little bit on the more expensive side, but you know what? They're doing what they want to, and God bless them for doing what they want to, but there's a lot of new brands coming on too, and they're all good too. So, yeah, hopefully that answered that question.
The WH McBrayer too, to kind of end on a thought on that one, but that finish is pretty relentless, especially given the lower proof and everything. Like we keep talking about the mouthfeel, but that's how it is showing up. And maybe power of suggestion, but we talk about those chocolate covered Brookstone acai berries, but there's raspberry chocolate covered ones too. That's what I keep thinking. That's where that brings me back to Rel, was chocolate covered raspberries from Brookstone. Man, those are so good.
Yeah, if you took that and you added some spice and cinnamon to them, that's exactly the profile to me. Yeah,
that's great.
Crazy.
I love this nose.
That's great.
Oh man.
Well, I want to remind everybody that you like the Cedar Brook, right? So it just kept getting a little bit better so far each time, right? And sometimes you almost forget the Cedar Brook's still pretty good, and things. But so we're going to go to Cedar Brook. Yeah, we're going to go back to Cedar Brook now so I'm moving you up in proof points, right? We're moving you up in proof points. And so, so this is what you all have. I think is going to be 117 proof, 18 proof. Let me see here. That's our 118 proof Cedar Brook wheated bourbon. Again, it's a 70-21-9 mash bill.
Oh, yeah.
And we like to call that one pancakes and syrup.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, this nose is killer, Darrell. I can see why you keep talking about it the last couple of minutes while you're skipping ahead.
Stop.
Wow.
Skipping ahead on your homework here.
That is very rich and decadent from the nose all the way through the palate. What's interesting is that this mouthfeel is still really good, but it's more subtle. Whereas I feel like the WH is just like attacks your palate and just stays there. This one is a lot more subtle in how it envelops your palate. And the finish is a little bit different. Ooh. It's just as long, but it's not as punchy or revved up, so to speak, as the WH to me.
Cedar Brook comes across a little brighter too.
Almost. Isn't it amazing how different the blend is from a single barrel?
Oh
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's night and day.
Yeah. The second sip is getting more of that as it's coating more of my mouth. It's still getting more of that lasting finish as well. Jeff, you're looking awful hard. What are you thinking about? I can see his brain.
I'm trying to narrow in on it. There's something that reminded me of the pastry shop down the street, and I was trying to narrow in on specifically what pastry I am thinking about, but there is something sweet and decadent when it comes to like a pastry note.
Pastry note? Let me see what I got in some of my notes on that particular label or that particular bottle.
Dude, the noses. Oh my God.
You getting any dried cherries on that one? Maybe some yeasty bread kind of thing? Like,
I could get into the dried cherries part for sure.
yeah.
I get more of the yeasty bready than the cherry part.
Yeah.
I get like that sourdough vibe. It's memories, man. I used to work at Burger King years and years ago. Back in 2002. 2002 is actually when I met my wife. But they used to make a sourdough burger, and we would have like the frozen sourdough. We'll throw it down the little like chute to heat up the buns. And once that butter, because we would have this little stencil thingy that we would stamp it, right, to get the butter on it, then throw it down the machine to toast it. And I get like that toasted sourdough butter vibe on the nose, the Cedar Brook single barrel.
Yeah. So this is the red label, right? So everybody can see a good look of. I really like how the red label turned out. And again, you want to put that against the 107, and you know, even 12-year-old or Wellers, right? It'll hold its own.
I don't even know if it would be close.
Well, we talk about that kind of thing quite a bit. I mean, we'll do that type of thing in a blind all the time. Like, this one's better than Weller, everybody, just to let you know. Like, stop hunting the Weller, go get yourself a little Cedar Brook.
So we're doing several single barrels of those for some different clubs, and
Okay.
you know, it might be something that we can all talk about someday.
Absolutely.
So kind of keep things moving. You know, this really started out as a passion project with getting W.H. McBrayer in the Hall of Fame. Then it led me down this path of putting all these money in the bourbon barrels, which I really didn't understand how capital intensive bourbon really was until I started going down this path. And so, you know, I wanted to go to the old distillery site there in Lawrenceburg. I'd always wanted to go see it. And I was down there. I got to speak at the Rippey House when we first did batch one. And I said, hey, how do I get down there? And they said, well, Bill, it's down Cedar Brook Road, but there's some homes back there right now. And you know, they're private property. I go, that's okay. I'll just drive down there and I'll go take a look and look around. And they said, hey, Bill, don't do that, because that guy that owns that property, if he sees you out there, he will shoot you. And I'm like, come on, really? They said, no, he'll shoot you. I'm like, fuck, really? And so then I actually was with Jason and those guys on a barrel pick at Wild Turkey, and I met Bo Garrett. Bo Garrett was wonderful because he knew all of our history and how much we influenced Wild Turkey. He says, I'm going to help you figure out how to get down there. And he introduced me to a lady by the name of Joni. And Joni went to high school, and graduated with Danny and Celeste that own the property. So she's taking me down this road, the Cedar Brook Road. And I mean, I'm way back in the woods in this country road in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. I swear I'm going in the Deliverance, and I don't think I'm ever coming back, you know. And this guy, he comes out of his house. He's got a beard down to the middle of his chest. He's got hair down the middle of his back, you know. And I handed him a bottle of the Judge, and he gives me this huge hug, right? And he was the nicest guy ever. Takes me in his house. He's got 7, 10-point buck heads on his mantle of his fireplace, you know. And I said, hey man, you got to talking to him. I said, you seem like a really nice guy. I said, I heard you'd shot me if I ever come down here on my own. He says, well, Bill, he said, I got 50 acres out here that used to be the old Cedar Brook site. And he said, when I moved out here, there was a lot of bad stuff going on in the woods. He said, we had meth labs and all kinds of stuff out here in the country. He said, so I had to get him out of here. He said, I have a reputation around town. I go, you do, sir? Absolutely you do. And he said, he looked at me, smiled, and he says, but I've never shot anybody. And he just smiled. didn't say he didn't shoot him right over his head or right by their feet, but said never shot anybody. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So anyways, he takes me around this property, and he shows me the Cedar Brook Creek where the spring was that's never gone dry. And you look into the bank, and you can see the old foundation of the pump house. He took me up on this hill. He said the McBrayers built a home here in the 1700s, and I want you to take one of the stones from the foundation. It's still there. Then there was a foundation wall of the old distillery down the street where they expanded it, in the 1800s. And I mean, it was awesome, right? Got to spend the whole day with him, made a new friend. We came back home. Man, what a great day. that was great to put that history together. And then he calls me the very next morning. He said, Bill, I had a great time. He said, I couldn't sleep last night. He goes, I got on the internet this morning, and the farm that was part of the distillery, the farm today was part of the distillery, it just went for sale. You need to come down here and see it. I'm like, okay. So on this piece of property was the old rail line. So McBrayer put the rail line through Anderson County in the 1800s. He was part of that was a big deal, getting industrialization through Kentucky. And he donated a part of that land that was part of his distillery for the rail line. And so the city, it was already started to fund that to be a rails to trails project. So that on that piece of property, you start at the trail, you go a mile to the Cedar Brook Bridge that looks down at where the old distillery was, and you go over the bridge a little bit ways, and you're going to end at Wild Turkey's distillery. And I'm like, all right, what a beautiful piece of property. And I called my wife. I said, honey, this is this piece of property. It's amazing. It's a beautiful piece of property. She goes, well, you better get it. I go, yeah, it's 130 acres. And she said, well, you better figure it out. I'm like, okay. So now I have 130 acres in my hobby, right? My hobby. And so
you have a great wife, Bill. I'm surprised she let you out of your house, because it seems like every time you leave the house, you come back with a new adventure.
Oh yeah. My wife is wonderful. We've actually been married 31 years now. We met in college, and
Nice.
she's been a big supporter of mine, and we're a team, right? We're a team. We've done these things. She's married to an entrepreneur, and we're not easy to be around, right? You go home, you're like, man, I got this big order. We're gonna have all this money coming in, and then next thing I know, there's a new couch in the family. I'm like, what's that for? She's like, you got this big order. I said, oh no, we're so broke. We're so broke. And so then some things. Then we're getting older, right? And then I don't know. She wanted to do something. I go, I don't know, honey. It's kind of tight this year. And she goes, well, how many barrels of bourbon did you buy? I go, you can do whatever you want, no problem.
Yep, she's got that card. She's playing it.
Yeah, but no, she's great. Hopefully she's even listening tonight. And thanks for saying that. And so we've got this piece of property, and I was looking for some property because I wanted to become a distiller in Kentucky, because you have more rights. You can self-distribute. You can do some bottling. We want to do some single barrels and do some bottling, and so we put a master site plan together. We're actually going to break ground hopefully in 2026, and put a 50-gallon still in our bottling line, and then hopefully the next year put in a rick house, and we want to start storing our own barrels. Right. So we do contract make. They're all contract made for us, right? Some are they're specialized for us. We're really specializing on the barrel type, right? So we're trying to go with an 18-month age stay barrel, right? We want to make sure that's a higher end barrel. We want to manage the aging process and obviously the blending process. And that's what's going to help differentiate us from, not only our unique mash bill on the WH product, but we're gonna go down that path for a while and really try to continue to tell our story, to bring these brands back. And this is an heirloom business for me. This is something I'm not trying to ramp it up and sell it, right? This is a family thing that really, it's sad it ever left our family, because they were some of the most famous brands in Kentucky bourbon, some of the longest standing brands in Kentucky bourbon history of 140 years, right? And so to bring them back, it's an honor for me to do it. And I'm just carrying the torch here for a little bit. And, it's folks like you guys that are helping support us and being part of our legacy, right? Helping us bring this thing back. And so, are you on to the old McBrayer, right?
Yeah.
On to the old McBrayer single barrel. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the last one we had here. So that should be 117 proof, right? And that's on our blue label. And, how you guys like that one?
I haven't even took a sip yet.
I get that same like black tea honey note again on this one as I did the original one. It's still there. The
mash bill on this one's a bit different, right, Bill?
So that's the same as the bottled and bond. So that's the old McBrayer bottled and bond. It's the same mash bill. That's a 70, 18, 12. 70 corn, 18 rye, 12% barley. So, we like those barley notes a little bit higher, right? Almost that cereal note a little bit, or we like that versus the low barrel barley note in a traditional bourbon. Because we got the low barley note in the WH, right? So, we really like that.
This tastes familiar.
I know I'm getting a whole lot of custard, I think is what's hitting me at the start here, mid palate.
I can see that for sure.
And then I continue to get the same finish. I mean, all of these have had great finishes and great mouthfeels all the way through, as we've been talking about that. But
absolutely,
finish continues to hold on here. I mean, gosh, I'm still thinking about creme brulee and just charred sugars and that delicious richness of that.
Yeah.
How would you guys rate them? Would you guys put a rating on them? I mean, all we're saying, they're all good, right? But like, how would you, and then the price points are different, right? You got 55, 65, 100 for the WH. And then we're at 75 and 85 for the single barrels. The 85 on the old McBrayer.
85 is nice.
Yeah, $85. That's a 7-year-old barrel that we put in the single barrels. So, you're getting some age to it and should mature a little bit there. And most of the chars, Wayne Arnold, are 4 chars, right? Again, some of the WH goes in those 18-a-month age stage barrels. We are starting to lay down all of our new make in the 18-month space side barrels, actually 18-month age space side barrels, and things. Later this year, we usually do WH as our unique one we do every year. Hopefully, the 8-year-old is going to be our standard product. We might have to fall back a little bit when we run out of it, and while we got some more coming. I hope not. We're going to try to figure that out a little bit. And every April or May, we usually do a new WH product. This one, and it's going to be released to Legacy Club. I don't know that this new one's going to make it to the shelf. This is going to be a special release this year because we're going to do a celebration of our 250th year as a country, right? Because the McBrayers have been here the whole time. They fought in every war. We're Scottish roots, American heritage is what we're going to call that one. We're going to do 1,776 serial number bottles in the box, right? So it's going to be a small little deal. Probably 100. We might bump it up to 110 or something like that. It'll be released to our Legacy Club first, right? So they'll have the chance to buy it first, and it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting. We're excited about it. We're going to start doing that blend. We've been putting some small things together. We're going to really try to, every year the blends I think get a little bit better. We've had people that have all 5 of the WHs and they like to rate them and they get to tell me what they think and
yeah, go back and forth.
Oh yeah, it was pretty funny. So the very first one, I'll tell this story real quick so we don't run too far on time. That corn we got from Wood Hat. It was a little bit older, and that batch 1 had this funky note to it, which was just a unique funk. It was only 4 years old, and it was great. And then the batch 2, we used the new barrel. Like we then had new corn that we grew, and we would go harvest it in the fall, and we'd make the bourbon right then. And it was a little bit cleaner distillate, right? Then people were pissed off. They're like, well, it doesn't taste like batch 1. I'm like, well, it's not supposed to taste like batch 1. And everybody liked batch 2, except the people that had batch 1, right? And right. And so then I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So then batch 3, we got a little bit more fruit notes, right? And then they're like, okay, we like batch 3, and then batch 4 changed, and then batch 5 changed. And now when I put all 5 of them together, like, hey, that batch 2, that's really good. And I'm like, but it's just the bourbon, the bourbon people, right? Like it's great. It's great debates, right? It's fun. And it's really cool.
So, Bourbonados.
They're the Bourbonados, as you were saying. They've been in here and chat all night, Bill.
Yeah, the Bourbonados. What a great online group. We've got to meet them. They've become big fans. We're going to see those guys. We're going to see those guys at the Bourbon Con, and they're actually getting ready to do a barrel pick with us. So,
nice.
So that's pretty cool. They've got a couple thousand people in their little online group, and very active group. Yeah, they're really wonderful people. Wonderful.
I like both of the single barrels the best. the Cedar Brook and the old McBrayer, but I think I like the old McBrayer profile a little bit more. I really like that sweetness, maltiness that you're talking about on that.
Yeah.
The higher malt content.
My good friend here, Jeff Reuter, he just said batch 4 would win. I said, I don't know about it. I think batch 5 is the best, but he likes batch 4. And I've had people tell me batch 3 is the best. And then the people are like, no, batch 1 is by far the best thing ever,
So when it comes to the blending process, Bill, what's your role in that? Like,
oh, I am the blender. Now I will tell you,
all right.
I've been the blender. I brought in a little help here with me at the Bardstown Blitz. You guys met Brian. Brian
Yep.
is helping me blend now. Brian's got a great palate, and but like batch 4, I blended that on my kitchen table, and I had this bar right at my house, the other house I had, and my wife was gone, so I'm blending, and it was a wood top bar, and then there's like these Glencairn stains on my bar.
Oh.
Right?
I definitely been there.
I'm like, I don't know how those came here. Was somebody at my house drinking honey? She just looked at me, right?
Yeah.
My wonderful wife. She's so patient with me. And so, but Brian's been a big help. And I'll tell you my quick blending story. So when I did the second batch of Old McBrayer, I had some help on the very first. As a matter of fact, I think it's fair to say Dixon actually helped me blend batch 1. Because I'm like, hey, Dixon,
nice.
I got 10 barrels. Yeah.
The Kentucky Al connection.
Yeah. And so I said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I got 10 barrels. How do I do this? He goes, just come over. We'll do it. Right. And he put them together. Then he helped me do the batch 1 of Old McBrayer when it was 4 years old. And I said, hey, man, you going to help me on next one? He goes, you're ready. Go ahead. Right. And so then the second batch of Old McBrayer, I was doing, it was a 10 barrel blend, I think, and I had like 20 barrels to pick from. So I'm like, I like sweeter bourbons. So I put all these 10 over here that I like the best, and I put the other 10 over here and blended them together. And I blended the ones I didn't like together. And I tried them, and the ones I didn't like, I like the blend better. I was like, what the heck? So then, the good part was I was doing small blends, and I just drank a bunch, and I kept trying, and I started getting better and better at it. Now when Brian comes over, and I'm like, I don't know what that note is, and he'll say, oh, it's this note, and I'm like, all right, let's find that barrel, take it out, and put it in. So it does help when you have somebody that's helping and things, and then we kind of talk about it, and then I'll have a couple of trusted friends to try them, and let me know what they think of them, and they tell me. But generally when we come up with something, we usually keep it, and it's been good. And what an art. It's a science and an art, honestly, doing it. And we spend a lot of time and really thinking about it. And as long as I'll drink it, I'll put it in the bottle. If I won't, and there's been stuff I'm like, I can't drink this. This is terrible. And I hope we don't put a bad blend together, right? The only problem is when you don't control the whole process. So then I pick these 15 barrels, we'll call it. I call Wilderness Trail or Bardstown or whomever, and I say, hey, pull those 15 barrels and let's dump them and put them in. And when I did batch 4, actually, I thought the test blend was better, but we had a short barrel, right? We had a short barrel. And you're like, oh, shit, what just happened? Right. And then you're just praying, because it's not like I can say, well, just hold these and let me go find another barrel and let me just, like, they're just done, right? Because you're on their time and you're so you don't control the process. And that's what I really want to do. I want to control the whole process of aging and blending and bottling. And I want to do it in Lawrenceburg, and I want to bring the brands home back where they were. I want to do it on the old property. I want to give back to the community as part of like what McBrayer did. And I just want to do this. I want to somehow get out of the dock and door business, is what my other business is that I've been doing almost 30 years someday. And I want this to be my retirement gig, and this will be something I do the rest of my life. And I hope we're all friends for a long time, and we're hanging out and drinking bourbon and checking out barrels in my rick house someday,
Absolutely.
Sounds
like a plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We love that, Bill.
Yes.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for today's flight, all of the wonderful stories, getting to know the brand a bit more, getting to know you a bit more.
Thank you.
Love your
It's been a lot of
passion.
fun.
Even hearing stories about you doing the blends, like, you know, in your house, just having fun with it, like that just warms my heart so much. It makes me love it even more. So
Yeah,
really
thank you.
appreciate you taking the time coming on.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Guys, and your group, thanks. What a bunch of wonderful comments were in there as well. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Kelsey, Darrell, any final thoughts?
Looking forward to hanging out in person in 3D, Bill, soon. And if you guys want one of these bottles immediately, go to this particular address and pick up a bottle. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and go over and check McBrayerLegacySpirits.com up there for you for the link. And Bill, thank you again for the flight, and looking forward to having this experience in person soon.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say the
thanks,
same,
Darrell.
man. Like, no, appreciate you. This flight was eye-opening. Like I said, I tasted a couple with you briefly, you know, in Kentucky, but I don't remember the rest of these, nor do I think I drank most of these when I was there. So this was super, super fun. The nose, the mouthfeels on these are just kind of crazy for the ages that you have on some of them. Like, it's pretty nuts. And the price points are all great too. So guys, like Kelsey said, visit that website. Prices start at what, $55 up to what, max at $100. You know what I mean? Like
$100 for the one in the box, right?
Yep.
You know, a great price point and great whiskey. And thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Well, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
It's time to head over to Jason's at the Mash and Drum, and we'll catch you on the next Whiskey Wednesday.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, everybody.